Some sobering statistics. Alcohol is responsible for more than 1 in 20 deaths worldwide. That's the finding of a new analysis by the World Health Organization. 28% of the deaths were due to injuries from traffic accidents, self-harm, violence, or other physical traumas. Another 21% were attributed to alcohol-related digestive disorders, and 19% were related to cardiovascular diseases. The remaining 32% were attributed to infectious diseases, cancers, mental disorders, and other conditions in which alcohol did in fact play a part.
Here is a colorless liquid that looks like water. It has a pungent odor and a burning sweet taste. Its chemical formula is C2H5OH. This is ethyl alcohol, the alcohol found in intoxicating beverages. It's made out of carbohydrates, such as starch or sugar. By using animated drawings, we will see what happens to alcohol in the body. In the alcoholic beverage shown here, the black dots represent the ethyl alcohol content. The alcohol travels down the esophagus and into the stomach and the small intestine. Capillaries in the stomach lead into a branch of the portal blood vein that connects with the liver, shown at the left. These capillaries absorb alcohol directly from the stomach, and the portal vein carries to the liver. Other capillaries absorb alcohol from the small intestine, shown at the bottom. Portal vein carries so. In the liver, some of the alcohol undergoes an immediate change.
Millennials are drinking themselves to death, according to a recent medical journal report.
Is it peer pressure? Is it job pressure? There was a significant rise in alcohol-related issues after 2008 when there was a recession.
Between 1999 and 2016, researchers say deaths from cirrhosis and alcohol-related liver disease increased by 65%. People 25 to 34 saw the biggest spike overall.
Some people drink alcohol to celebrate, others during game time, or maybe just to unwind.
People sometimes want to turn off. They want to turn off their feelings, and alcohol can work for that.
But of course, there are consequences.
When you start to really fall in love with that feeling of turning off, then your body starts to develop a tolerance towards alcohol. Then if you stop using, you start having withdrawal from alcohol, and then you're within a very vicious cycle.
A cycle that can be deadly. A national study finds alcohol is killing more people than ever before. Since 1999, the number of alcohol-related deaths has doubled. According to the study's authors, 30% of those deaths are linked to liver disease. 17% are due to alcohol-involved overdoses, mostly for men between ages 45 and 74.
Enzymes found only in the liver react with the alcohol and change it to acetic acid and adhere as white dots. This means that the alcohol burns or oxidizes, thereby releasing calories of heat energy. The acetic acid molecules and the molecules of ethyl alcohol, not acted upon immediately by the liver, pass on through the veins to the heart, shown here in the center. The more alcohol that reaches the liver at one time, the more alcohol goes on to the heart unchanged. The heart pumps this blood containing alcohol and the acetic acid into the arteries and on to all parts of the body. Whereas only the liver oxidizes pure ethyl alcohol to acetic acid, any body tissue, as for example, the tissue shown here, can oxidize acetic acid. As acetic acid, represented by the white dots, burns, heat energy is released and waste materials eliminated. Thus, the liver is the one organ of the body where oxidation of alcohol to acetic acid takes place.
Last year, almost 5,000 under 18-year-olds were admitted to hospital after excessive drinking.
This is all the medication that I have to take since I come out of hospital.
Scott is 19 and from Bath.
I have to take 8 a day as well.
4 weeks ago, he was hospitalised with stomach pains and found out that he had liver damage.
I've heard of liver failures and all that before, and kidneys problems, but I just thought I'd be the lucky person that wouldn't happen to. It scared the hell out of me. I was hospitalised for about a week.
Given that people are drinking younger and younger, we're almost certainly facing an epidemic of serious liver disease in the 20 to 30-year-old age group. This is a 26-bedded liver ward. The majority of people have alcoholic liver disease, and it covers the whole age spectrum from early 20s through to people in their 80s and 90s. Hi, Stacey. How are you today?
Poorly.
In what way do you feel poorly? Stacey is a young girl who has been drinking heavily for some time and is now showing signs of liver failure.
My belly hurts. I struggle a bit on my feet. I've been very drowsy, and I've not been eating very well either.
Stacey started drinking at the age of 17. Since then, her family have tried many times to help her stop.
She's been drinking about 5 litres of cheap wine per day, although she has tried to cut it down in the last few weeks before she came in and was managing to survive on 1 litre of wine per day.
In the past 18 months, Stacey has been hospitalised 6 times due to her drinking.
Her prognosis still has to be guarded, because if she goes out and drinks again, she'll almost certainly die.
What day is it tomorrow?
Saturday.
Is it your birthday tomorrow?
Yeah,
How old are you going to be?
24.
Stacey discharged herself from hospital and started drinking again. She was readmitted several times, but a month later she died in hospital from liver disease.
So except for small amounts of alcohol that escape through the lungs and kidneys, alcohol in the bloodstream remains unchanged until it can be acted upon by the liver. As the liver oxidizes molecules of alcohol to acetic acid, other molecules return from the bloodstream. The liver oxidizes about 3/4 of an ounce of alcohol per hour until the alcohol is all oxidized. As long as there is any alcohol in the bloodstream, some of it reaches the brain. Here it acts as an anesthetic. The effects of alcohol on the human brain vary somewhat from person to person, but its main effects follow a general pattern. At first, the greatest effect is on the cerebrum, outlined here with a black border. 0.05% is about 1 ounce of undiluted alcohol in the entire bloodstream. This darkened area is the judgment center and the center for tensions and anxieties. Even small amounts of alcohol tend to deaden these centers, and because of this may provide an illusion of relaxation. This is ordinarily the situation in moderate social drinking. As the concentration of alcohol in the blood rises above 0.05%, the judgment center becomes more and more depressed. Gradually, too, the muscular control center becomes less responsive to incoming signals from nerves in all parts of the body. The vision center, too, is affected during intoxication. It finally affects a deeper center toward the base of the brain called the cerebellum. When the concentration of alcohol in the bloodstream reaches about 0.4%, unconsciousness usually occurs. 0.4% is about 8 ounces of undiluted alcohol in the entire bloodstream of an average-sized adult.
On the Health Watch, deaths from liver disease have increased sharply in recent years in the United States, and young people are being hit the hardest. That's according to a study published in the British Medical Journal. Over the past decade, people ages 25 to 34 had the highest increase in cirrhosis deaths.
Deaths from liver cancer have increased in the U.S., according to a report released by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's National Center for Health Statistics on Tuesday. The research collected data from adults 25 and older from 2000 to 2016. During that time, liver cancer death rates increased by 43% for men and 40% for women, according to the NCHS. The American Cancer Society reports that liver cancer also rose from the 9th to the 6th leading cause of cancer death. According to the American Cancer Society, heavy drinking is a risk factor for developing liver cancer, but the report doesn't explain why there have been sharp increases in liver cancer deaths. Studies show that liver cancer proves to affect men more than women. Liver cancer kills approximately 15 out of every 100,000 American men and 6.3 out of every 100,000 American women. Experts say liver cancer is expected to take the lives of more than 30,000 people this year.
We've often heard that mantra, moderation is best, but there's a new study out from The Lancet, and it's suggesting that there is no safe level of alcohol consumption. Now,
Researchers studied drinking habits in 195 countries over 16 years and found consuming any amount of alcohol is more likely to do harm than good.
This new research has found that there is no safe level for people in the population to drink alcohol.
This new Lancet study shows that the risks of cancer and other diseases outweigh the benefits. Now, from a global scale, alcohol accounted for nearly 1 in 10 deaths in 2016, and that's for men and women between the ages of 15 and 49. Now, alcohol was a leading risk factor for disease and premature death in this age group.
Scientists found 1 alcoholic drink a day increases the risk of developing one of 23 health problems, including cancer. The Global Burden of Disease study revealed about a third of the world drinks alcohol, and 2.8 million people die each year because of booze.
This study looked at alcohol use and health effects of 15 to 95-year-olds in nearly 200 countries, and it covered 26 years of data, so it is the most comprehensive study of its kind. I want to show you how the numbers break down. Now, here are the risk factors. Out of 100,000 non-drinkers, 914 developed an alcohol-related health problem, such as cancer. Now, if you had 1 drink a day, the risk went up by 0.5%. Seems marginal, but that actually represents as many as 100,000 deaths worldwide. At 2 drinks a day, the risk of disease or injury increased by 7%. And well, if you're knocking back 5 drinks a day, well, your risk of serious health issues goes up by nearly 40%. The senior author of this study says the most surprising finding was that even small amounts of alcohol, just 1 drink a day, actually was contributing to health loss globally.
Researchers say alcohol use is the leading cause of death and disability in people as young as 15 to 49.
Even if you're only planning on having 1 or 2, you probably console yourself with those news articles we see all the time that not only do a couple a day do you no harm, they might actually be good for your health. Well, not anymore. A landmark study in the most prestigious medical journal in the world, The Lancet, has declared for the very first time that there is no safe level of alcohol consumption. Even a glass a day could be deadly.
As soon as you start consuming alcohol, you're more likely to die.
That's correct. That's correct. And what we're finding is that in the older age groups, alcohol's responsible for about 25% of deaths in women, and 1 in 5 men will die as a result of alcohol.
Professor Sonia Saxena from London's Imperial College is one of the authors of this controversial paper, which bluntly says there is not a single health benefit from drinking. We've heard that alcohol does reduce your chances of heart disease, but you say there's 23 detrimental health effects. What are those?
There's a wide range of poor health effects. So it does include significant conditions like diabetes, cardiovascular disease, cancers, liver disease, cirrhosis. Those sorts of things are much more likely.
If you're having a couple of wines a night with dinner or a couple of beers at the pub after work, that's about 6 standard drinks for the wine. How much are you increasing your chance of death when you're consuming that much a day?
I think that the answer to that is that's actually quite a lot, and that will increase your risk of having one of these 23 conditions by a third.
A 30% increase?
A 30% increase.
So could you see that some of the criticism would be that, yes, you're looking at the harms, but you're perhaps not really factoring in all the benefits?
We've looked at the benefits to specific health conditions and not found that there are any.
People don't want to hear this.
That's right. Nobody wants to hear that drinking no alcohol is the right thing to do.
Professor Sonia Saxena believes there is no safe level of alcohol consumption and says most of us drink more than we realise. And then a glass of wine with a decent pour like that, that's 2 units of alcohol there, isn't it?
So this is the thing. It looks like it's about the same volume, but it's not, and it's different concentration. So this is about 4.5% alcohol, and so that will be 1 unit. Wine tends to be a bit more concentrated, so it could be up to 12% alcohol, and so an average glass would be 2 units.
Alcohol is a small, simple molecule that can fit into the receptors of just about every cell in your body. including your brain. When it gets into your brain's receptors, it prevents the chemical messenger that's supposed to deliver a very specific message from doing so. In some parts of the brain, it blocks receptors so the chemical messenger can't get through. In other parts of the brain, it causes the transmitting neuron to release extra messengers, like it's jammed in the on position. It can't turn off until the alcohol leaves. Alcohol has its main effects on 5 transmission systems, some of which you may have heard of. They're named for the neurotransmitters involved: beta endorphin, dopamine, serotonin, GABA, and glutamate.
As we absorb alcohol into our bloodstream, it affects both our organs and our state of mind. It raises our blood pressure and makes our heartbeat irregular. These symptoms are a consequence of chemical reactions in the brain, especially in this region, the cerebellum. It controls coordination and balance. When we drink, alcohol affects the cerebellum's brain cells. Some synapses accept the signal more frequently. Others become totally blocked. The more we drink, the more extreme the effect. It may feel good now, but there'll be a price to pay later. The liver is the body's biochemical control center. It performs more than 500 functions. One of them is to convert poisons, like alcohol, into harmless chemicals. The process requires water. Usually, it's the brain that suffers most, since it is 70% water. Water and essential salts are sucked from the brain, and it shrinks away from the skull.
A new study published in Britain today says alcohol damages society like no other drug. Here's Joanna Remiliotis with the details.
You won't get a tour of a crack house too easily.
If you drank only Steamos the entire night, you would wake up with a slight, barely any hangover.
But a stop at a local brewery, that's a tourist attraction. Yes, alcohol is legal, and with it comes the perception. A sip is not nearly as dangerous as a sniff or a needle.
You should enjoy it, when it's appropriate.
Everything in moderation. A new study calls alcohol the most dangerous drug of all. Not for an individual, but for society as a whole, when you factor in drunk driving, other crimes, and health costs. On a danger scale of 100, alcohol was rated 72. Heroin was behind at 55 and crack at 54.
The reason it's so harmful is because so many people use it and so many people are dependent on it.
Today we have Dr. Marvin Seppala, an addiction specialist from Hazelden Addiction Treatment Center, to clarify some of these facts for us. Good morning to you, sir. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning.
First of all, this study, a lot of people have been talking about it, the British study talking about alcohol and comparing it to a lot of these other drugs, cocaine, LSD, heroin. What do you make of that study?
You know, it's an interesting and worthwhile study in that it was primarily designed to inform the government about how to use their money to address the ills associated with drugs of abuse and with alcohol. And they really took an objective examination and defined the significant ills associated with alcohol use compared to other drugs. They looked at harm to self versus harm to others and kind of added this up. And the harm to others, social ills associated with drug abuse and alcohol use, revealed the major problem associated with alcohol.
For the average person out there who hears this, I mean, what is a takeaway for them? And is this more a reflection of the fact that just more people use alcohol versus these other drugs?
That's a major aspect of it, that tremendously more people use alcohol than the other drugs, but also people that use alcohol are more likely to engage in high-risk activities, driving while intoxicated, domestic violence, and the like, where people who use the other drugs, in some respects, let's compare to heroin, are often going to be tired and not very active.
Villanova homecoming, a student performs a keg stand, a drinking stunt popular on college campuses. At Drexel University, students turn drinking into a sport, playing a game called beer pong. The goal, get drunk. And there are even websites where students post photos illustrating their binge drinking and its effects. We found photos from the University of Pennsylvania, Penn State, and other local schools. In some pictures, girls are so drunk they're passing out and urinating outside, like here at the University of Delaware. According to the National Institute of Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, 1,400 college students die from alcohol-related causes each year. 500,000 are injured, and 70,000 cases of rape and sexual assault involving alcohol are reported. One researcher called binge drinking a plague on college campuses.